Good afternoon. We're on stream number 2 of the day, and it's exciting because we're talking with all these different projects. And today we're talking the second time with a project that a lot of you guys probably know. It's the Royal Society of Players, and we got ZK85 and Mr.PinkNFT. Guys, appreciate you coming on. Do you want to give kind of just a little quick background about your journey into NFTs and then your involvement specifically with Royal Society of Players?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Love talking NFTs. It's something that I geek out about, and the opportunity to do this with you is a real pleasure. My background, I think like a lot of people got into the space earlier this year, kind of January, February through Top Shot. Lucky for me, it was right before that kind of Top Shot February bubble, that real kind of peak of excitement. And so essentially that was my first NFT. Fell in love with the entire process, fell in love with the community. One of the things that I observed as the February Top Shot bubble kind of slid back into March and April was what else is out there. And so I was really fortunate to find Bored Ape, minted a Bored Ape in April 30th, which is a joy and a pleasure. So I've had the opportunity to be part of that community since inception. And then come May, June, really felt like there was a gap in the marketplace. There was an opportunity to introduce something that didn't exist, an opportunity to evolve some of the things that we had seen at that juncture. Put my head down and with a bunch of great people really brought Royal Society to life. And I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to talk about that. But it's just from my perspective, started off as a collector on my kind of personal career. I'm also an investor. So I've done some angel investing in a bunch of different Web3 and metaverse companies, and also obviously as a creator here at kind of Royal Society.
And Mr. Pink, how about yourself?
You know, I was really fortunate, grateful every day. To be honest, it was my younger brother. I'm a little bit older, as you can tell, and spent my life in restaurants, investments, had some projects that put me in a position where I could explore NFTs. But it was really my brother, who was a crypto trader, kept telling me about a Discord group he was in, ZK85, and he'd say, "I'm in this ZK85 Discord group, and we're talking NFTs." And he was so mind blown, and would send me screenshots. And I'd say, get me in that chat. I want to know what you guys are talking about, because, I understand him and grateful. I don't know how people get into the space without help and without guidance from the people that are in the space. It's hard enough getting into the space for me. And I had my brother holding my hand and ZK holding my hand. So I was fortunate to get in that Discord in around April or May, and was just overwhelmed by what was happening. I mean, you could just tell in the chats that it was, we were talking about special things that were happening in the market. And I took every word they said and I did it. And that's kind of why I'm here. Oops.
Good segue. That's why I'm here. And
But, that's why I'm here. I listened to the people that knew what they were talking about. I learned about gas, and I learned about scams, and I learned about Discord. And very fortunate to be one of the early members of the RSOP and friends with Zeke. And am now and also an art trader. What I was before I got into NFTs is I did have a pretty large art collection. And there was an artist named Dalek that started doing NFTs. And I jumped in his Discord, and, between the communities I was developing with a group like ZK and what they're doing at RSOP, and an art community that I'd always collected from and now could communicate directly with, it just, kind of overwhelmed my life with a lot of joy. And I just decided to jump all in. It's too much fun. It feels right. And, I'm a very happy collector now. And I'm working more in the space to help onboard people, find artists. This is a lot of fun. I'm just digging in.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, it's cool seeing kind of like what we thought and back then, I guess, because I think Royal Society of Players was one of the first projects that were kind of like out there when things started getting really, really hot at that time frame, like after NBA Top Shot, and seeing kind of how things have progressed. It's awesome. And for you guys, when that's on the outside that hears about Royal Society of Players for the first time, what do you kind of want them to perceive, or what are your intentions of kind of, the vibe that you're giving off?
Yeah, I love that question. I think one of the things that I truly believe we are is a very welcoming community. I would say there's a lot of communities that are maybe not narrow, but are about, D-list and When Moon and, a bunch of stuff. I think we're more texture. It's one of the things that I'm really proud of. There's a lot of professionals in our community, a lot of folks that have a variety of interests. And so part of what we obviously have is people that enjoy different types of games. We have, a free roll poker opportunity for those that are interested in poker. We do some fun stuff around trivia. But one of the things that I think I'm proudest of is we have a really strong alpha channel. And so a lot of people are really sharing their passions around crypto, sharing their passions around other NFT communities. Something that I wanted to bring to the table is we introduced an angel investing channel. And so one of the things that I see in my career is great opportunities to invest in startups. And so credit to some of the folks that I work with, but I'm an angel investor in Zed. I'm an angel investor in Sandbox and a bunch of other of these, great platforms. And so, once or twice a week, we drop in angel investing opportunities. And I just love that we were able to offer, a group of people who are passionate about NFTs, but also have other passions, this opportunity to convene, to connect with each other. Unfortunately, coronavirus has limited us just a little bit, but I'd say the other component is we have an incredibly vibrant plan to do real world events and meetups. And so we hosted at NFT NYC, we hosted at Art Basel Miami. We actually have an event going on right now in CES in Las Vegas. And so obviously the Consumer Electronics Show is a little bit smaller given Omicron and some of the concerns. But even from day one, we launched the $100,000 community wallet where anyone in the community can apply for a $1,000 grant. And I think we've done 14 grants so far in cities like Cincinnati, Seattle, Singapore, Hong Kong, Buffalo. I mean, wherever people are, we want to create these opportunities for NFT collectors to meet and engage with each other. And so really just love that opportunity. And I think it's one of the things that we're known for. There's a few things on our roadmap coming up, though, that I'm sure we'll be able to talk about. But right now, I think it's really one of the things that has differentiated us is the strength of our community.
Well, you talked a minute there about your in-person meetups and, having New York, Art Basel, et cetera, et cetera. But you guys were one of the first in-person ones that I ended up seeing and it wasn't even for a specific large event, but it was, I believe, in New York where you guys had kind of like a rooftop party. So how come you guys decided to do that in New York, and what was kind of your goals with having that event?
Yeah. So selfishly, I'm New York City based, so that kind of made life a little bit easier. One of our secret advantages is that my day job is a company called Landmark Ventures. We're 65 odd people, including a pretty big event arm. We have an 18-person full-time event arm, and we work with Fortune 500 corporations, athletes, and celebrities. We do about 200 events a year, about 100 in person and 100 virtual. And so doing events and convening is something that we love. It's really in our DNA. Like I said, we're not for our respect for COVID and Omicron and the desire to just maintain, social distancing and kind of following different guidelines. We would be much more aggressive doing events right now. And so that's definitely something that's coming for us. And I think, when we look around some of these other NFT communities, doing events is difficult. Convening in person is not easy. And so one of the things that we've had the fortune of is really aligning with a couple of our friends at platforms like Metaverse HQ, which we think the world of, Gutter Cat Gang, which we think the world of. I truly see a scenario where, in the coming months, you'll see increasing alignment between a bunch of different NFT projects. At the end of the day, I think most of these communities are so intertwined today. It's not like, oh, you're Bored Ape and I'm Punk and she's Gutter and he's a cool cat. I kind of think it's just one big kind of happy NFT community. And the more that we can do to create a platform, the more that we can create safe opportunities for people to meet and engage. You meet someone on Discord, you meet someone on Twitter and you're chatting, but nothing in my mind replaces breaking bread, clinking glasses, having the opportunity to backslap and tell stories. I think that's where the rubber hits the road. And to me, the future of the NFT community is not only the virtual relationships that we build, but the opportunity to marry that with in-person, real world, physical kind of chances to see each other once a year or more. And candidly, even with Mr. Pink, had enjoyed and loved building a relationship virtually. But the times that we've hung out and he's been great about coming to New York, we were in Art Basel together, having drinks, having fun. That's what makes this such a tight community. And at the end of the day, I hope we all make money. I hope we're all successful. I hope we're all thriving. But it's the people that I think I'm the most passionate about. I think it's the communities that we're building, the friendships and the relationships. That's what's going to sustain this community. And that to me is the foundation of everything to come going forward.
Yeah, and it's exciting that we're kind of like early with this, and the fact that the I think entire NFT space is all about, hey, like let's work together more than like, hey, we're staying in kind of our own lane, and that's something that I don't necessarily think you see in a lot of other industries, but nonetheless, it's pretty wild. Now, one thing that I want to show here is something that I remember and was like, holy sweet mother of pearl, way back in the day. Maybe not even that long ago, some of these Joker cards were going ballistic, and I know that also the art is done by Oben Jones, Oben Jones, and I want to get to that in a second. But for these Joker cards, can you break down like what the I guess like incentive or extra perks for having these ones? Is it something that includes an entire full set, or just these cards in particular?
Yeah, I love that question. So our collection is 10,000 NFTs, which the math works out to 768 decks of card, which is kind of a nice number. 192 decks of cards, 768 of each of the ace through two, which means there's 16 jokers to complete the entire deck. And so these 16 jokers were each individually handmade. Oban did an incredible job. When I look at that, I love our entire collection, but the Jokers especially, they deserve to be on walls. And we've already had a number of people physically print them out, display them proudly. I think that they're gorgeous. We've had various merchandise. People have done shoes and hats, and we've got some neat things coming on that front. And so, yeah, one of the things that we're very proud of is being a utility first model. There's been some existing utility to date, which we can certainly talk about, but I think that probably the greatest utility going forward for us is, like a lot of communities, we have a token coming out, which is tentatively called our play token. We have this idea of a scorecard where I think maybe unlike some other communities, we're going to balance not only that every NFT gets an allocation, but we have a ranking or a hierarchy where jokers, we have a thing called Eternals and stamps. We have different made hands, a royal flush, a two of a kind. So it's kind of part of the gamification, part of the elements that go into what the next level of our roadmap will be. The jokers will get an outsized allocation of play on an ongoing basis. And so we feel like that's just a nice way to reward the community, a nice way to acknowledge the rarity that certain cards and certain hands have, but at the same time, create a structured balance where every card, every NFT gets a portion of play, as well as this kind of secondary allocation that has, rarity and other scarcity elements intertwined.
Yo, that's sweet. And I mean, for anyone that's interested in getting into this collection per se, what are some of the things you need to know? Obviously, like we're just looking at the Joker thing because it's like, wow, they're so scarce and they went for so much. When you're starting out, like to get involved with the community, obviously you're able to still get in at a reasonable price point where a lot of collections do mint here at 0.08. So what are some of the perks for having a Royal Society of Players card? And does it really matter which tier you kind of buy if you're looking at getting into the collection?
Yeah, I love that question. Mr. Pink, maybe do you want to field that and I'll kind of answer behind you?
Yeah, I know what Zeev always said from the beginning, which is what I think. It really is kind of a priceless to be a member of the organization and the real world events. I tell a lot of my friends in particular at the beginning, like it's your perfect first card to buy to get into a community. Because, it's fun to see new people come in every day and say, I'm new to the community. Should I get a card? You see them conversing with us. And I'm just thinking, man, these guys are conversing with some huge real life players in this room right now. And I think that's neat. I think the interaction with the community is, worth anybody. And it's a lot of first card for my friends. But as far as the cards, depending on how deep you want to get into the RSOP with the rewards and the benefits, every card has value for a lot of the giveaways, to get into all the poker games, to get into the fantasy football. Just to be a member of the RSOP is really an unlimited amount of utility. And everybody in the RSOP will tell you that. It's a little bit over the top compared to some other projects. And, you just get a lot of random card draws for ETH, poker weekly with qualifiers, with, that they're ongoing with other communities. So we're learning about other communities and interacting with them also. But if you do want to get a straight, or you have quads, or you have a flush, there are higher rewards for that. So, those are pretty exclusive memberships to be in. And if, Zeev can tell you, and people in the community, people talk about the grants. These grants that Royal Society will give you if you have some friends and you have cards and you want to go get to a steakhouse together. We had some guys in Ohio and Kentucky that wanted to get some Kentucky bourbon and go to a speakeasy. And the Royal Society said, yeah, that sounds royal as fuck. Like, here's some money to do that. Like, we're going to support that. That's what the Royal Society is. We've gone to Reds games. We've gone to tennis matches. People have gone to hockey matches just because they said, hey, Royal Society, we're members. We like to check this game out. And, the ability to get those and the access and the willingness for those to give those out, it's just kind of unprecedented. I don't think people quite know about it. But as far as the Jokers, I've gone to some really fun kind of exclusive dinners because I'm with Zeev, and I've seen the way if you own a Joker card. I've hosted a Joker in Cincinnati. If you own a Joker card, aside from the value of a card, you're living the really good royal life on the Royal Society is basically how I'll put it. I mean, the real life benefits of being a Joker, I think, are probably unmatched as far as an NFT. I think in general, what I really like about the Royal Society is I think it's a community of people that have had a lot of success in the real world, and they're willing to share that willingly and joyously with everybody entering the space. And, now that I've met a lot of these guys in real life, it's, fun to have these guys that have been successful in some other really real life industries so now passionate about NFTs. Like, it shows me something, when these guys are, at their important jobs and, running companies, and they're calling us going, when's the drop? What are we doing today about lemons? And I'm like, what are you leaving right now? But, I love the community and the sophistication within the Royal Society. Z can speak more on the cards, and the design is awesome. I got a quad of 5s that I'm never letting go. So, there's utility when they do contests for quads per se.
Yeah. So one thing that I like about what you said is kind of, the community is based up of a certain demographic, and obviously it's not to like a T, right? Like, everyone's going to have kind of a different thing, but the vibes that I would get from the people that I interact with or have, come to me and said, hey, like, you should probably pick up a card, which is like Kaser from Z Gazette, also TSBG in the chat, shout out to him. And, it's kind of, there's like a certain vibe for people, you know what I mean? Like, I think you can say that for a lot of people, that if you like DM certain people that are, in the Bored Ape community, they have like a certain vibe to it, and it goes kind of along the lines there. But it's interesting because with Society of Players, you guys don't necessarily have something that's, I guess, like identifiers in a way. Like, you guys have the cards and whatnot, but obviously we've seen a lot of projects come out with different profile pictures and whatnot. Is that something that you guys are working on?
That's a timely question. So we can break a little bit of news here. We have actually a couple pieces of news we can break. But one of the things that we're excited to share is that we have had the opportunity to get a custom profile picture commissioned for us. So we have this great project by an artist named Butcher Billy that's coming out. Looks like it'll be ready in January, so 2-3 weeks away. Butcher Billy's a pretty well-known artist, comic book artist. He's done Playboy covers. I think he has a couple 100,000 followers on social media, 100,000 on Facebook. We gave him some opportunity to interpret the word kind of players and Royal Society of Players kind of in his vision. And so it's this really, I think, a pretty intense comic book kind of style character, a lot of characteristics intertwined with Royal Society. And so just a lot of like beautiful Easter eggs with regards to cards, and our logo kind of featured. We have a male and a female character, which is really nice to be inclusive of our entire community, but also a little bit of gory details. We literally just came off a call with him, and he showed us a baseball bat called the Widowmaker, and it has a couple eyeballs dangling off the baseball bat. And there's some very, I don't know if risque is the word, but he's definitely kind of exploring and having fun in a comic book sense. But when we looked at it, and, we've obviously had the opportunity to co-create this, we really love that it represents, us as a collective. There's going to be a bunch of different characters, a bunch of different representations. I would say every player can find themselves within the player's collection. But even bigger than that, it really is designed to be something wider than just Royal Society. And so I think he's inspired by Royal Society. I feel like, again, you'll see certain echoes of things and values that are true to our community. But I would say it's a profile picture and a project or a collection that really applies to anyone. I'd say any outsider, meaning it's not just for Royal Society, any member from the community, anyone that's interested in collecting what will be an iconic Butcher Billy first ever NFT. I think they're going to find this just a beautiful work of art, something that has, whimsical and interesting traits in it, but also an opportunity to join a community that they'll enjoy being a part of. And maybe one last comment, one of the trends that I think we're all going to observe, I think 2022 is going to be the year of a massive wave of newcomers and first timers entering into the NFT market. That is partially driven by, the ambassadorship that me, you, Mr. Pink, et cetera, do with our friends. But candidly, it's going to be much more driven by the Coinbase NFT market, the FTX NFT market, the Binances, right? These huge marketplace, these existing crypto brands, the mainstream, which have already adapted into the mainstream in terms of the media, but the mainstream permutation when we see Fortune 500 brands, when you're going to start to see significant real world benefits with whether that Nike or Starbucks or whoever say, take this NFT, go into the store, get a discount, exclusive access, exclusive merch, Disney, Marvel, it's going to start to permeate our day-to-day lives, and not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of new people are entering into kind of the NFT market this year. And I think we're going to have that have a profound effect. And so someone like Butcher Billy intentionally is meant to have that appeal to new NFT collectors, comic book collectors, players, and certainly Royal Society of players.
So one thing in there is, or well, I guess it's kind of a question that I was thinking about before, was for this profile, doesn't know for sure if you guys were doing that or not. Are you trying to stay away from the vibes, I suppose, that you guys have created with Royal Society of Players on the cards? Like, I would assume, right? Like, just from kind of like an outsider point of view, because I remember like I minted back then, but I haven't been keeping up to date too much with it. But the aspect of poker seems to be, the overlying umbrella on pretty much everything here. So are you guys trying to keep that theme and always stick like kind of around poker? Or for these PFPs, I mean, you're talking about a bat and stuff, and I mean, in certain ways it could have like that card shape, but is it kind of like completely separate and you're wanting to have Royal Society of Player not necessarily known as only poker, but as an entire society?
Yeah, I really like that question. So first of all, I would say I don't view us as a poker society or a poker first society. If I had to use an analogy, I often refer to like a Soho House analogy. We could potentially imagine a golf club, a social club, a fraternity or a sorority. I think in that sense, we're more of a kind of a social organization. We just had a group of Australian RSOP players go and play golf together, right? And so to me, there's a camaraderie in a community layer, of which the playing cards, of course, form part of our lore. Of course, playing poker forms part of our lore. But I don't think it's the majority or even the largest part of who we are as a community. And I think that these PFPs are representative of that duality. When you see the art, there are, like I said, a lot of innuendo and tips. There's tattoos that have different, a diamond or a heart or different things. There's brass knuckles, and each knuckle has the playing card symbol on it. There's a couple more like robot kind of, evil and good kind of robots where they have different armor, and the armor has different RSOP imagery. But I would say outsider looking in, you would see some influence with kind of playing cards. But you'll also see some influence with the word players writ large. And I think it's intended to represent who we are, which is, a subset of our community loves cards and love poker, a subset love golf, a subset love fantasy football, a subset love sports and sports betting, a subset love culinary and crypto and everything else. And to me, that's okay. I really think that, at the end of the day, we're people first. And certainly what binds us is the opportunity to build relationships and build friendships. And as I said earlier, when all these newcomers arrive, I don't mean this with disrespect. So I'm profoundly passionate about, let's say, the Bored Ape community. That's a little bit of a difficult community to be a first timer today. If you entered the Bored Ape community, if you entered their Discord and said, how do I set up my MetaMask? Like, I just don't think that today it's evolved to a much more mature community. I think our position is always to be welcoming, to always, walk people through that journey. And we hope that they perhaps begin with an RSOP card, find additional NFTs that they're passionate about, but still come back for the alpha, come back for the real world events, come back for the different social opportunities and trivia games and all these fun things that we do that at the end of the day, distinguish our community from other communities.
I haven't heard the term culinary brought up in a while, but it's making me think of like the group of people back when I was in college that were always doing, chef stuff. And it's funny because I don't think we've really had any like huge culinary hits within NFTs, but
well, there, pun intended, we might be cooking up something that has some culinary twist to it. But even little things, and this is something that can be borrowed. There's nothing unique about it. We like to ask a couple questions, every once in, a couple times a week. And so one of the questions can be, what was the best restaurant you ate at, or what's your favorite, dish to cook? And I love that we can explore those different human topics with each other. And maybe if we're going to do, the half day spent talking about, food, different people showed barbecue that they made, or their favorite, beer, or liquor, or whatever. And I think that again goes back to our roots and our desire to be a social community and a social club. And again, I wish we had a little bit more opportunities to do in-person stuff. It would be incredible and easy to go do a barbecue somewhere, or some sort of a cooking thing, or even a potluck. And again, I'm a New Yorker, so Central Park potluck, everyone brings something. And I'm sure someone will bring a deck of cards, someone will bring a frisbee, someone will bring their dog, and let's eat and drink and have a good time. I mean, to me, I feel like, again, those real world connections are what binds us. And oh, by the way, it's nice that you're a Joker and I'm an Eternal and she has a Royal Flush, and we can, if we wish, talk about our benefits or utilities, or soon to becoming the tokens that we accumulate tied to our different, hands in the gamification within our NFT community.
Now, when we were talking before about what are some of the things you'll kind of like notice, or if you're trying to get into the community, Mr. Pink, when I'm checking out the Discord, you guys have like blackjack, which you're able to play like within there, but then you're doing contests about stuff. So can you break down kind of like how your Discord works? Because there's a lot going on in it.
Yeah, there's a lot. I was laughing about it last night. I was just hanging out. Yeah, we like I said, it's hard to describe to people that aren't in the RSOP the amount of benefits you have to being in the RSOP. I don't want to say free stuff. There's just a lot of activities to do that have some rewards that the Royal Society puts up the bounty for. So yeah, there's a 48-hour blackjack, and everybody gets chips. And in one of the channels, you put blackjack, you bet your chips. It's real live automated blackjack, and the top 5 players play. Shout out to Royal Nor, my homie, and to JJ, one of our 8 brothers. They both finished in the top 3 last time. And, that we always hit each other up. That's the first text I get. Hey, man, you playing blackjack today? And it's fun to play free blackjack with money on the line. And, again, that's not like something the Royal Society promotes on Twitter. I mean, these are like daily, simple benefits that are like fun things. So, and it's definitely not a poker club, but we all love playing poker because we get to hang out in the room together. We've got some pro poker plays like Randcorp and some other guys that will live Twitch the tournaments. So to watch the live stream and be on the Discord and talk about the tables, it's so much fun for an old poker player like me that used to play at the tables a lot. I mean, you get to talk, you get to watch these guys live stream at the end and talk about people if they folded or if they shake. It's a very fun experience. So I think that aspect is different than playing on, betag.com. I don't know the guys I'm playing against. I lost a guy in one of the first tournaments and then met him at a real world event. You don't know who you are, and he goes, I bet I can bluff. He came up to the bar and he goes, I bet I bluff you out of that drink. And it was great to meet the guy that beat me in the final of that tournament. And, I can't wait for, even with the COVID hit, I think the community's had a few meetups where it's kind of a strong bond between everybody where, at Art Basel, where the RSOP guys are hanging out. I mean, when you go to these events, you kind of end up going with these guys. And I think another great word for the community, it's very level-headed. I think as opposed to some other communities, I think you get that when you're one of the first 5 or 6 guys on Rarity Tools. Any community you can get into as a new buyer that's got the longevity of being there at the beginning, and the collectors and the guys that run it have been collecting of those. There's just a lot of alpha. And I don't mean people that tell you what they're talking about or they know shit. People that have seen a lot that at least tell you we've seen this before. We've seen this strategy. We've seen too many airdrops. And, I think for anybody getting in, any of the communities that were there, at the beginning of Rarity Tools, if you have an opportunity to get in at a reasonable budget, you're going to find people in those Discords that have seen a lot. And there's something to be said about, and that leads to a very level-headed community. They don't get too rattled. We help people get on the ups and the downs, and, we've seen it before. And that's a great place to go every day as a calming Discord.
And I just want to go back a second ago. You guys were pointing out in the chat that Food Mascou was a culinary project, and I totally forgot about that. You're right. Food Mascou was one of the ones for that. So also, for anyone in the chat right now, if you guys happen to have any questions, please feel free to throw that out there, and we can definitely get to them. But one thing that I do want to talk about is the Royal Treasury here, because I was kind of thinking, I'm just going through the site, and I'm kind of like mulling over a bunch of thoughts, right? So you guys have it here where you're accumulating desirable metaverse assets for members' exclusive usage. And I'm like, okay, So what NFTs would this idea work for? And recently, NBA Top Shot with all of their flash challenges, holy moly, everybody's like, oh, we need this player, we need this one all the time. And so I would consider, okay, that one could potentially be one. I know that you've mentioned Zedrun within there. And then for a lot of these play to earn games, it sounds like you're going to be able to rent out different heroes, champions, potentially guilds, whatever, all that kind of stuff. So do you guys foresee this kind of like ramping up in terms of member usage, or what currently are the assets that members are able to take advantage of?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we started off with Zed, which is, I think, is kind of where that wording and that concept came from. We have a Zed stable, which we breed. And, we were distributing horses for a while, which was kind of something that I think the community was really excited about. There's a couple different ways that we can take the Royal Treasury. One of the things that we're in the process of doing is really turning that into this community wallet. And in the technical phase of enabling governance through our play token. And so essentially, as time goes on, we really see this more and more as something that the community will kind of decide for themselves, vote on for themselves. We're happy to play like an administrative function to just kind of support that execution. But ultimately, we think that the community wallet should be exactly that, put to the community's benefit and use. And so we're right at the tail end of introducing a voting tool where the number of NFTs you have will help you kind of determine the number of votes. And as we unlock that feature, which seems to be maybe as soon as about a week away, it really enables us to do more with the Royal Treasury. But ultimately, it's something that we view ourselves, like we said, as stewards for the community. We want to be able to offer that as a benefit going forward. And if there's a desire by the community to get into a new play to earn game or an existing game, to know that the Royal Treasury can kind of support that function if it passes a vote, I think is a really exciting feature.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you guys are offering that is something unique, because I don't think there's really too many projects that are doing that. And I mean, you were mentioning earlier about like angel investing, and can you explain what that is? Because I've heard the term before, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, of course. So it's kind of a derivative or a subset, perhaps, of like the venture capital world. The term angel typically comes from kind of this idea of like you were trying to raise money and your uncle, your dad, your neighbor gave you money, and oh my God, they're such an angel. They helped me out. So that's kind of where the term angel arrives from. But most commonly it implies, well, it doesn't have to, but I think of it as typically earlier stage investing. If you use a platform like AngelList, you typically join like a syndicate, which means that somebody is close to a deal, they get an allocation, and then that you can kind of syndicate that allocation to a series of investors. One of the things that I think people would be happy to hear, a lot of times the entry point is often as low as $1,000. Sometimes it's $2,000, and so it's not like, oh, I have to invest $500,000 or $1 million personally. That's essentially what the syndicate does. Is it takes 500 people that each want to put $1,000, puts it into an SPV, a specialty purpose vehicle, invested on their behalf as one $500,000 check. And so it kind of democratizes access to, certain high profile deals, interesting deals, et cetera, et cetera. My interest in including an angel investing channel isn't necessarily to say, oh, you're guaranteed to make money. Here's the next greatest thing. I think when we're in an asset class like NFTs, when we're talking about crypto, when we're talking about an investment opportunity, I think a lot of the people have the ability to see and understand different, Web3 or metaverse deals. And like I said, a few of them are deals and companies that you may actually own some of the assets from. And so being provided an opportunity to invest in a coin or a platform, if it hits my desk and I get permission, I'm introducing that to our community. We're not taking a fee. We're not in any way kind of middlemaning. For lack of a better term, it's like a bulletin board where we're just putting something on the wall and saying, not literally, but here's a deal of the week, if you want, take a look. But it's been nice where people have asked each other questions. I've never done an angel deal. What expectations do I have? Do you like this? Do I like this? And I just love that we can kind of take that as a starting point and add a facet to a conversation that I think a lot of people are having, but exploring new ways to, gain exposure, gain asset class exposure. And presumably as an investor, your goal is to, be financially successful. But I think just the awareness is in and of itself interesting. And I know a lot of folks who haven't necessarily pulled the trigger on a deal, but they said they love reading it and to some degree, we're curating not everything that hits my desk. I post, I try to think of, again, things like I don't know, a healthcare deal maybe would be less relevant for this community, but something that's in tech or AI or something that's tied to art or NFTs, those are the ones that where we feel like there's an appropriate alignment. Just putting it out there is something that the community can consider and learn more about, and I think people have really appreciated that.
I learned something new today. It's always a good day when that happens. So you guys have listed here with brand partnerships, and I'm curious because I think that overall, I would say comfortably that the majority of the NFT space, if they've been around for a few months, knows who Royal Society of Players are. They just do, whether they're involved 100%. With it or not. So in terms of partnership opportunities that you guys have been potentially presented or that you've kind of fallen through with, can you just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yep. Mr. Pink, do you want to take a moment and maybe talk a little bit about some of the poker collabs? Then I'll pick up on a few of the other things that we've been working on.
Yeah, I think, I think that's another thing about the Royal Society is because Zeev comes from a Landmark, which is, does a lot of event production in New York at the highest level. It fits into the real world events and, the organizational aspect of what it takes to run an NFT project. So the collaborations, there's one I'm actually working on now. I think this is relevant also. I was at the Royal Society of Players event at Miami in Art Basel. And at that event, I met some guys. The CEO of Valiant Comics was there. Another gentleman, Justin, we met there from the Disney Channel. And meeting them there ended up as an opportunity for me to, end up working on that project, which I'm working on now. So, I know we talk about the real life benefits of the RSOP. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I lost my train of thought there, Zeev. I'm so sorry.
You were just talking about Valiant and the people you met at the event and the benefits.
Yeah, the benefits of the RSOP, obviously the real world benefits I always kind of leaned into. I'm saying the initial question. I'm sorry.
It was about the different partnerships and some of the different brands.
Okay. I guess I was still on track. But, the events with the Gutter Cats. This week we're doing a poker tournament with Valiant. And it's going to be Valiant, the RSOP, Spoiled Banana Society, and the Knights of Degen. And it's, the great thing about that when I was with Valiant, I said, if we want to build our community and reach into some other great communities, just call the RSOP. They've already got the networks, the professionalism, and run those events. And to be quite honest, I just contacted the RSOP, talked to our friends in there. They helped coordinate, set it up. And, of course, organizations like the Spoiled Banana Society, which one of my favorite ape organizations with Richard Wagner and their fantasy football, they're going to be joining us in the Valiant team. They're going to be joining RSOP for our second poker tournament. And of course, Drew Austin and the guys at Knights of Degen, which is such a strong OG community that's going to the moon. And again, what a great poker tournament. And again, RSOP's already done events like that. The Gutter Cat event at Art Basel, the Gutter Cat event in New York. So, already within the other NFT communities, I think RSOP is a centerpiece. But I think what Zeev can talk about is, Zeev in the real world has some real world opportunities with, the biggest companies, the biggest celebrities, the biggest networks in the world that he can now, apply to what we're trying to do with NFTs.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And when we were down in Miami Art Basel, we also had the chance to kind of co-execute an event with some of the brands you mentioned, but our friends at Zed were kind enough to co-host as well as Curio. Let me introduce one other brand, not to shill too much, but we launched a sister platform called TheHouseofFirst about a couple weeks ago. TheHouseofFirst is a little bit more of a take on kind of art and new art. So we say that we focus on the new, novel, and noteworthy. The intention is to introduce established artists into the NFT marketplace. But one of the interesting tie-ins is that as a sister project, 10% of all primary and secondary sales go into the Royal Treasury. And I think that that's an interesting clue and a hint. I think it's, I believe, as far as I know, we're one of the first, if not the first, to do it. In my longer term aspirations, I could easily see us enabling other types of future possibilities like that. One of the things that I think we'll also begin to see in this calendar year is M&A in this marketplace. I think there's a lot of communities that maybe would benefit from the scale of merger where two communities or more might come together. I think that there's been soft talks of different founders or creators recognizing that it's a lot of work to run a community and looking for someone to take it over after a certain period of time. And I think that Royal Society is interested in potentially playing a role as an end location for other communities. And so kind of what we're doing with TheHouseofFirst is certainly maybe a signal to other things that we can be doing, where Royal Society will always remain, from our perspective, kind of our lead and our primary vehicle. But anything that happens afterwards will always contribute back to the community wallet. We'll always make sure that the Royal Society, platform has funding and resources and growth. And at the same time, I could see a variety of different partnerships, many of which are underway. Some of that involve individual athletes, celebrities, brands, and then just even retail partnerships. I know it's maybe a small thing, but two things we're proud of. We introduced a partnership. Yeah, thanks for that. We introduced a partnership with a high resolution print on demand portal. And so if you want to take any of our art and print it, not only are we giving you the high res portal, but a 15 or 20% discount to go out and print it. That could be our work or someone else's work, meaning another NFT. We have a partnership with a group called Select Meet Select, which is this worldwide platform of hotel, travel, airline, and other discounts. And so by virtue of being a part of Royal Society, you get a 3-month membership in Select. And then if you wish, you can get a discounted membership onwards. And so we've already had a lot of brands that are interested in cross collaboration. I absolutely see this year being an extension of that. But I think what we're doing with HouseofFirst and the ability to, combine a sister project and some of the opportunities for cross marketing, I think you'll see a lot of unique attributes and benefits through brand partnerships. And, we very much see ourselves as a partner-ready platform for success.
Funny little story here. Danny Ukes, right? He's on your guys' team, sends me a DM, I don't know, let's say a couple weeks ago. And he's like, hey, man, go check this out. I think it's going to be pretty good. And I'm like, all right. I had no idea this was Royal Society of Player thing at friggin' all. So it seems that like there is that disconnect. Are you guys purposely wanting that disconnect, or do you think that it would be better to say, hey, like, Royal Society of Player, we built this and now we're doing this? Like, how come you guys are kind of not necessarily putting the two together?
That's a great question. So they really are, and we use the word sister projects. There's obviously overlap and intertwined, but they are separated. They're legally separated, but I would say that they are mission separated, if we're being candid. One of the future drops at HouseofFirst is going to be a female PFP, diverse, strong, beautiful, authentic women, which I love that. I love that we're introducing that. I think it's going to be something that we're incredibly proud of. It's not necessarily a one-to-one fit with Royal Society. And so obviously the opportunity to have Butcher Billy do this beautiful PFP, great fit. But we view HouseofFirst as, an adjunct and an adjacent project, but not an overlapping project in the traditional sense. And I think that's okay. And that's important. Taking it a step further, when I talked about M&A, maybe there's a scenario where we acquire another project. It doesn't have to be part of it doesn't have to be part of Royal Society. Different projects can and should have their own identity, their own missions, to some degree, and this is, an overstatement for where we are. But if we imagine Berkshire Hathaway perhaps as a role model, a parent brand that owns, disparate assets, that could work in a structure. And I think that there's certainly opportunities for us to follow in that path. Maybe a closer path might be a Unilever, where we have, more similar or closer assets. And so I think we're allowing ourselves the latitude and the flexibility to, be opportunistic if business opportunities presented themselves. Candidly, since we have a platform, if there's communities out there that you feel like maybe a merger or an acquisition is interesting for you, you can definitely connect with me. That's something that's on our mind heading into the coming year. And I think that's just an exciting place to be. And even for HouseofFirst, we're being approached by huge artists who are excited about doing their first ever NFT. These are established collectors, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, sold pieces, some of them for millions of dollars. And I think that, launching through Royal Society isn't the right brand, but launching through HouseofFirst is certainly the right door. But under our umbrella, it's, as I said, it's kind of, a platform with two sister projects kind of under our metaverse team.
It's interesting to see the kind of way that this is being able to be shaped, right? Because you guys had the idea of like, let's create Royal Society of Player, and then, seeing the window of, hey, there's a lot more opportunities that can, mutually benefit at a point, but also create something that's really strong. And I think we're in like the foundational years, and it's cool that we're kind of, a part of it and really kind of paving the way for it. So just in case anybody's tuning in a little bit late here, I'm going to ask each of you to do a 30-second elevator pitch, and we'll see how variant you guys are on why somebody should pick up a Royal Society of Players card. And Mr. Pink, we can start with you if you want.
The Royal Society of Players card, it's the professional NFTs collectors NFT. It's the most level-headed community that's been around for the longest time. It allows you as a new collector or a current collector that's been around to be around guys that have seen a lot for a long time. That can give transparent advice. And the real-world events and the access to the people you're going to have are well worth the value of any single card you could have. Yeah, excellent first card.
It's a great answer. Mr. Pink, while we're here, you want to break a little news?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be working with the Dream Opportunity, with Zeev and Venture in New York as the chief marketing officer at Venture, pretty much overseeing some of the marketing at the RSOP and TheHouseofFirst, which are two communities that, again, I've been around RSOP at the beginning, and I have a lot of wonderful plans and incredible support to come up with some things for the Royal Society. And as a passionate art collector, TheHouseofFirst for me is such a dream opportunity. 95% of my collection is, Dalek, Bumbot, Muff Monster. I'm a real true art collector at heart in the NFT space. Fortunate enough to spend that time collecting art now with friends in my communities like the RSOP. So I'm thrilled to announce I'm going to be spending my time with TheHouseofFirst and Royal Society exclusively to bring new art to everyone, more world events, some more RSOP events when COVID's over, but we're planning them now. And it's a dream opportunity to work with a guy that from the first time. He's an impressive person when you meet him at first, but it doesn't go away. I tell people when it's all said and done, Zeev's going to be on the Mount Rushmore of NFTs. He was here at the beginning. The opportunities he's bringing. He was talking about some of these opportunities for the investments that some of the people in community can get in at such small levels. There's never been access like that in the history of the world to these opportunities. And Web3 and being able to get ground level opportunities like that for people. I love where he's pushing the space, and I'm excited to be part of the team.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that one. And I guess, ZK, for you, how does it feel, and how come you guys ended up going with this decision here?
Yeah, so, I've known Mr. Pink for a while. Kind of as happenstance, we launched on July 22nd, and he was in town in New York. And so there was a really small team dinner after the drop that, we went out to celebrate. And he was there with us, which is really great. I've always felt like he's been a key part of our team. We've been having discussions for months, and I would say over the last few weeks following Art Basel Miami, things have heated up. And then as we look at this new year and the opportunities ahead, we just felt like, we are just so fortunate and thrilled to have his talents on board. And we've just, heated up our conversations. And as the new year clicked, we kind of made a decision that this is, a dream opportunity for both of us. And so we'll put out an announcement, but you have the luxury of being truly breaking news. I see a couple people hearing about it for the first time, but he's joined us as our chief marketing officer of the Metaverse team. Going back to your question, we're a fully doxed team. I think that is critical at this day and age. I think it is asking a lot to put significant faith in a team that's not fully doxed at this point. And so I really think that it's more and more teams are going to just have to approach us as fully doxed. We're a 9-person full-time Metaverse team with a 65-person team behind us. And so I think we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of manpower. We have a dedicated 3-person product and tech arm. Danny Ukes, who you mentioned, will start to work with Mr. Pink, and my colleague Kayla on marketing, and Crystal. And so we just have a real opportunity here. And going back to your 30-second fully doxed, full-time dedicated Metaverse team, I told everyone I'm here for the next 20 years. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to fight tooth and nail for our success. I love our focus on one hand, fun. We do a lot of great things around entertainment and engagement. And on the other, money. I think it's okay to talk about money. And if that's the angel investing channel, if that's the treasury and governance around where and how the treasury should be active, if that's NFT alpha or crypto and opportunities for individuals to learn from each other, I think we're one of the best platforms out there. And to me, it's just such an easy entry point for a first timer coming into this space or an established person wanting to be around other established people, making great decisions and having fun along the way. And so that's certainly what motivates us. And, we work hard every day, adding new features, being creative. There's some really beautiful things coming up in Q1 that we're excited about. And we're grateful for the community that has been with us on this part of the journey. And we also know going forward, there's a lot of growth ahead. And so we welcome a lot of new new community members as they join us for the next phase of this journey.
That's awesome. Well, ZK and Mr. Pink, I know that we do have an audience that's fairly much comprised of RSOP collectors. Do you got any final words you want to just kind of give them a shout out for?
I hope you guys have bad luck tonight at the poker tables at 8 o'clock. I'll see you. So everything else, I wish you well in all your ventures tonight, guys. But we're very excited. When I say it's a dream job, it's so exciting to work with you guys on what we're going to do next. And we've definitely got some ideas, and we've got the support from Zeev. So I think success is imminent. It's how much fun are we going to have? Which routes are we going to take? Which are going to be the most fun? But we have unlimited time and unlimited resources and unlimited enthusiasm moving forward.
Yeah, I just want to let folks know that I'm incredibly grateful. I feel like it's a privilege and an honor to lead a team, lead an organization. I think a lot of NFTs, maybe begin and don't know what they're getting themselves into. I'm a seasoned executive. I feel like I understand the challenges and the opportunities ahead. It's part of the reason that we've been quietly stacking talent. You mentioned Dan Verno, Danny Ukes. He also, great privilege and honor that we added him full time about 2 months ago to our organization. My ambition is I want to be about double, so 16, 17 people this time next year. I feel like that's where we need to be in terms of a full-time team. If we think about the opportunity that many committed, smart, dedicated people can do and drive, that just gets me up in the morning. That, I'm up late nights, as my team knows. And I think about this day and night. I think this is the future. I think Web3 and the metaverse is where we are all going to be so much more engaged and immersed. And we want to just, help and drive our community to success, both through the work that we're doing, but as we said, to meet each other, to engage with each other, to learn from each other. And at the end of the day, if we look back and we say, we were better people for Royal Society, we met better people, we made better decisions. Hopefully we made good financial decisions on NFTs or whatever, we bought and sold and, said no to NFTs that looked like cash grabs and said yes to people that are committed to the sector and were able to grow with some of the new projects. I love nothing more than people saying, I met at an RSOP event, I made a new friend, someone turned me on to a great deal. As a result, I paid off my mortgage, or I was able to, take care of my car payments or whatever. We want to enable that kind of success for everyone around us. And that's what drives and propels me every day.
Yeah, that was one hell of a way to end it. Guys, if you're tuned in right now, thank you, Zeev and Mr. Pink. Appreciate you guys coming on. We're going to end the broadcast now, but that was a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll have you guys back on sometime super soon to find out all the stuff you're working on.
Very thanks, man. Really appreciate the time.
Very grateful. Thank you.
Hey, for sure, for sure. All right, everybody, enjoy your night. We'll chat soon. Peace, peace.